When we think of beauty today, we think of style, makeup, maybe surgery. But in the medieval world, beauty was a battlefield, and the casualties were often the women themselves. These weren't harmless hacks. They were torture devices dressed up as glamour. Rituals that promised love and status but delivered pain, suffering, and death. Take skin, for example. Pale, ghostly skin wasn't just a trend. It was an obsession. It meant wealth, privilege, and power. But most people had natural tans from working outside, so women turned to arsenic wafers. Yes, arsenic, one of the most infamous poisons in history. Sold as beauty tablets, women swallowed them to whiten their skin from the inside out. The result? They glowed for a while. But arsenic slowly destroyed their bodies, causing vomiting, organ failure, and eventually death. The cruel irony? The paler you looked, the closer you were to your grave. And what about hair? High foreheads were all the rage. So much so that women literally plucked their hairlines back. Some even removed their eyebrows completely, believing that a smooth, empty forehead looked refined. Others went further, using lime and vinegar mixtures to burn away unwanted hair, sometimes eating through their skin in the process. The mark of nobility was a face scarred by acid, hidden beneath layers of poisonous white paint. Then there were the perfumes. Hygiene wasn't exactly a medieval strength, but women still wanted to smell enticing. One common fragrance base, musk, harvested from glands of deer or even ground-up animal intestines. To preserve it, they mixed it with lead or mercury powders. Inhaling these daily wasn't just nauseating, it poisoned their lungs. Beauty wasn't just skin deep. It seeped into the bloodstream, and for the lips and cheeks, bright colors meant youth and allure. Without modern lipstick, they used crushed insects, cinnabar, a mercury-based mineral, or even mixtures of sulfur and lead to tint their faces red. It looked healthy, but behind the rouge was a body unraveling. Trembling hands, decaying teeth, madness creeping in from mercury poisoning. Even teeth weren't safe. White teeth meant nobility, but toothpaste was a nightmare mixture of ashes, burnt salt, and sometimes crushed bones or brick dust. It scrubbed the enamel raw, leaving teeth more vulnerable to decay. Some wealthy women even filed their teeth to achieve a refined shape, causing pain and infection that could turn fatal. And let's not forget the body itself. Women bound themselves tightly in early corset-like garments, crushing organs and deforming their skeletons just to appear slim. But slim wasn't enough. Some took dangerous diet potions laced with vinegar, chalk, or lead, weakening their bodies in the pursuit of a frail, delicate look that men found appealing. The truth is, medieval beauty wasn't just dangerous, it was a trap. A woman had no choice. To be beautiful was to be accepted. To be plain was to be ridiculed, abandoned, or accused of witchcraft. Beauty was survival. So they painted themselves with poison, swallowed death in disguise, and mutilated their own bodies. Not because they wanted to, but because society demanded it. And here's the darkest question. Have we really escaped this? We don't use arsenic wafers anymore, but we still swallow diet pills that wreck our insides. We don't smear mercury ointments on our cheeks, but we inject toxins into our skin in the name of youth. We no longer pluck our hairlines raw, but we burn our scalps with bleach. It's the same story, dressed in modern packaging. So maybe the scariest thing about medieval beauty isn't how brutal it was, it's how familiar it feels. They were willing to risk death for beauty, and so are we.